If the elevator goes below B2, do not let the doors open. Maya Sutton had heard the warning 3 years ago, spoken by her father in the calm voice he used whenever he wanted fear to sound like common sense. She had assumed it was one of Aaron Sutton's strange jokes about the building where he worked too many nights and trusted too few people. Now, at 12:14 in the morning, alone inside Crosswell Technologies' private elevator, Maya watched the glowing B2 button fade as the car continued downward. The display showed B3 for half a second, then went blank. Her hand moved toward the emergency stop, but the panel was dead. No alarm. No phone signal. Only the low mechanical pull of cables somewhere above her. She had stayed late to review a compliance report involving $12 million routed through 2 shell vendors and approved under a dead executive's authorization code. It should have been a clerical problem. Crosswell had entire departments built to make dangerous things look clerical. The elevator slowed. Then the doors opened. The corridor beyond was not part of the building she knew. The walls were raw concrete instead of white stone. Narrow lights ran along the floor toward a black security door. There were no exit signs and no level marker. Maya remained inside. Going back up would be the reasonable choice, a man said from the darkness. His voice was controlled, close enough to be clear and distant enough to conceal its source. Maya pressed the lobby button. Nothing happened. The controls will not answer you here, he added. Who are you? She asked, though she already knew. A figure stepped into the floor light. Julian Cross looked exactly as he did in shareholder interviews, except cameras had never captured how still he could become. He wore a charcoal suit without a tie, his expression unreadable. Crosswell's CEO was supposed to be in Seattle that week. His presence beneath headquarters at midnight meant either the calendar was false or this place was. Maya Sutton, he said. Hearing her full name from him changed the temperature of the corridor. You know who I am. I know who was assigned to the transfer report. You know my name because of one report. I know your name because that report used an authorization code belonging to a man who has been dead for 6 months. Maya studied him. He did not look like a man interrupted by an employee who had taken a wrong elevator. He looked like a man waiting for a result. A weak light came on behind him, revealing a glass-walled room beyond the security door. Inside, an older man sat at a steel table, his hands resting in plain view. Julian acknowledged the room without taking his eyes from her. You were supposed to leave at 11:30, he said. You checked my schedule? Someone did. The man behind the glass lifted his head. His gaze found Maya immediately. Recognition crossed his face. Then he stood and stepped closer to the glass. Maya, he called through an unseen speaker. Julian's expression changed for the first time. Not fear. Calculation. Do not say anything else, he told the man. The man ignored him. Your father did not take his own life. The words reached Maya quietly, yet everything inside her shifted. She had spent 7 years living beside the official version of Aaron Sutton's death. Depression. Professional disgrace. A final note that sounded nothing like him. She had challenged the report until investigators began speaking to her, as if grief were a kind of delusion. Julian moved toward the security panel, but the corridor lights shut off before he reached it. In the darkness, Maya heard the click of a lock and the whisper of another door opening beyond the glass room. Emergency lighting returned 3 seconds later. The room was empty. The steel chair remained pulled back from the table. The man's badge lay beneath the fluorescent light, but there was no visible exit. The badge identified him as Henry Wallace, a former Crosswell Systems architect. Maya stepped out of the elevator. Where did he go? Julian tested the sealed door. For the first time, the control in his face appeared incomplete. That is the wrong question. He knew my name. Yes. He knew my father. Yes. Then give me the right question. Julian looked toward the ceiling as though someone might be listening through the concrete. Ask who sent the elevator. Maya stared at the dead panel behind her. I pressed B2. And the system brought you here. Systems fail. Not this one. He stopped several feet away. He made no attempt to touch her, but his position placed him between Maya and the only lit path. This level was removed from every public plan before the tower opened, he said. Only 5 people have access. I am one of them. You are not. Then how am I standing here? Because access and invitation are not the same thing. Maya thought of the midnight transfer and the report waiting upstairs. Was the transaction meant to keep me late? Julian's silence answered too much. You knew my father, she said. I knew what he found. What did he find? A vibration traveled through the floor. The elevator doors began to close behind Maya. She turned, but Julian's voice stopped her. Do not get back inside. The doors met with a quiet metallic seal. The blank display came alive on the other side. Instead of a number, it showed her name. Maya Sutton. The letters remained for 2 seconds, then vanished. Julian looked at her with the grave attention of a man watching an old prediction come true. You did not take the wrong elevator, Maya, he said. Someone wanted you down here. The name disappeared from the elevator display, but Maya could still see it in her mind, glowing where a floor number should have been. Julian crossed to an access panel beside the sealed door and entered a code. Nothing happened. Someone has isolated this level, he said. You seem very calm for a man who has lost control of his own building. Julian looked at her. Calm is not the same as control. A mechanical hum moved through the ceiling, followed by the click of distant locks. Lights came on along a second corridor. The invitation was obvious. They want us to go that way, Maya said. Yes. And you are considering it. I am considering every exit. He checked his phone. The screen briefly showed a map of the tower with one red point blinking beneath it, labeled with Maya's employee number, then went black. Julian moved to a plain section of concrete and pressed his palm against it. A hidden door opened. We are leaving through the service core. Maya did not move. You knew my father. I am not taking another step until you tell me why. Julian stood in the doorway. Because Aaron Sutton designed this level with Henry Wallace, the man you just saw. The answer struck harder than Maya expected. Her father had told her he worked on security architecture, not hidden floors. He often said good systems were invisible until something went wrong. She had never imagined he was speaking about a place beneath the ground. My father left Crosswell before this tower opened. Officially. What does that mean? It means your father never trusted official records. Maya followed him because the elevator was sealed and remaining alone felt exactly like what someone wanted. The passage led to a private service elevator that carried them upward without displaying a floor number. When the doors opened, floor-to-ceiling windows revealed downtown Chicago, its midnight traffic drawing red and white lines 40 stories below. Julian led her into a private suite at the end of the executive corridor. Gray furniture. Dark wood. No family photographs. Nothing without a purpose. You can leave, he said. You brought me into your private rooms to tell me I am free to go? I brought you somewhere the internal cameras cannot reach. That is not reassuring. It was not meant to be. Julian activated a tablet on the kitchen counter. A blue model of the tower appeared. Every floor was visible except the level they had just left, which existed only as an empty space beneath the parking structure. A second image opened beside it. Maya recognized her personnel file, her hiring date, her evaluations, her home address, and the train routes she used during the week. How long have you been watching me? She asked. 3 years. You approved my hiring. I arranged it. Why? Your father left something behind. I believed you might be the only person who could find it. Every promotion and unusual assignment suddenly looked less like opportunity and more like a corridor built in advance. You used my career to bring me closer to a secret. I kept you close enough to protect. You do not get to. Call surveillance protection. No, Julian said. I do not. The admission unsettled her more than an argument would have. He looked like a man who had carried the same explanation for years and knew it would never become an excuse. The night your father died, he contacted me, Julian continued. He said Crosswell had built a system that collected private information through products customers believed were inactive. He said the program had expanded beyond anything he agreed to design. You believed him? I believed enough to be afraid. What did you do? Julian looked toward the windows. Not enough. Before Maya could demand the rest, the tablet chimed. A camera feed showed the lobby of her apartment building. A person in a maintenance uniform crossed the frame carrying a toolbox. The timestamp read 12:38 in the morning. Who is that? Maya asked. Not one of your building employees. Julian enlarged the image, but the person kept their face turned away. You said I could leave. You can. But if I go home, someone is waiting. Yes. Then your offer is meaningless. No. It is your choice. I am telling you the cost before you make it. Maya hated the logic because it sounded almost honorable. She took out her phone. Service had returned, but before she could call anyone, a message appeared from an unknown number. It contained a photograph taken inside her apartment minutes earlier. On the table beside her front door sat a framed picture of Maya at 8 years old, standing with her father at Navy Pier. The original had been locked in storage since the week after his funeral. Beneath it was a white envelope bearing her name in Aaron Sutton's unmistakable handwriting. Julian saw her expression and stepped closer, stopping before he entered her space. What is it? Maya turned the screen toward him. For the first time that night, the control left his face. That photograph was never in my apartment, she said. Julian studied the envelope and the timestamp. On the back of the envelope, beneath her name, someone had written 3 words and a number in block letters. Forgotten things. 112. Julian studied the photograph and the timestamp. They did not find what your father left, he said quietly. They found something meant to lead you to it. A second message appeared. It contained 6 words. Ask Julian what happened at 112. What happened at 112? Maya asked. Julian did not answer immediately. Beyond the windows, Chicago looked distant and orderly, a grid of lights pretending every street had a destination. The message remained on Maya's phone between them. Ask Julian what happened at 112. 1:12 in the morning was the time your father made his final call, Julian said. To you. Yes. What did he say? Not over a device that may be compromised. Julian crossed the suite and opened a concealed cabinet. Inside was an old landline telephone connected by a thick gray cable. It looked absurd beside the polished glass and digital displays. He lifted the receiver, listened, then dialed. Rachel, call the building manager and Chicago police. Preserve the lobby footage and every electronic entry log. Do not let anyone touch the photograph or envelope until officers document them. He ended the call before Maya could object. You have a protocol for this? I have protocols for situations I hoped would never happen. That is not an answer. It is the only one I can give until I know who is listening. Maya looked again at the photograph from her apartment. Her father's handwriting on the envelope made the years between his death and this night feel suddenly fragile. I am going home. Someone wants you there. The envelope may contain the answer. Or it may contain instructions designed to move you. You have been moving me for 3 years. Julian accepted the accusation without defending himself. Then make a different choice. Do not go where either side expects. Maya hated that he was right. Julian enlarged the photograph until the writing on the envelope filled the screen. What did forgotten things mean to your father? He asked. He did not keep records in obvious places. He kept puzzles. Julian turned toward her. Explain. He believed passwords were lazy. He used stories, places, dates. When I was a child, he made treasure hunts out of everything. Birthday gifts, spare keys, even grocery money. Did he repeat any story more than the others? Maya thought of summer afternoons, museum visits, and long drives along Lake Michigan. One memory returned with unusual clarity. Her father standing beneath the old clock at Union Station, telling her that important things survived because people forgot to look at them. The number on the envelope gave the memory a destination. He used to talk about lost luggage, she said. Not actual luggage. He said every building had a place where forgotten things waited for someone to remember them. Julian opened the tower model again. Crosswell maintained an off-site records annex near Union Station until 8 years ago. 8 years ago was when my father died. Yes. Julian entered a code, and an archived floor plan appeared. A storage room was marked with the number 112. Maya looked at him. 112 was not only a time. It may have been a location. They left the suite through a private stairwell and entered a black sedan in the underground garage. Julian drove himself. No security team followed. Rain had begun to glaze the streets, turning traffic signals into long streaks across the windshield. Maya watched him keep both hands on the wheel, his attention precise. "Why are you protecting Evelyn Shaw?" she asked. His expression did not change, but the pause was enough. "What makes you think I am? Every time you mention Crosswell, you separate the company from the people who control it. You talk about the board as if it is weather. Evelyn is the chair. She approved the systems my father found. Evelyn built Crosswell before I was old enough to understand what it cost. That does not answer the question. She is my mother." Maya turned toward him. Crosswell's public history described Evelyn Shaw as Julian's mentor, never his parent. Why hide that? Because she believed family created the appearance of weakness. "And you agreed?" "At 26, I agreed with many things that benefited me." Union Station rose ahead through the rain. Julian parked across from an old commercial building with dark windows and a faded brass sign. The annex had been closed for years, but a side entrance opened when Julian used an executive access card. Inside, dust covered the tiled floor. Their footsteps carried through the empty lobby. Room 112 was in the basement behind a door with peeling paint. It held filing cabinets, broken office chairs, and shelves of abandoned storage boxes. Maya ran her flashlight across handwritten labels until she found one marked lost property. Inside were postcards, train schedules, a small cassette recorder, and 2 tapes. The first was already inside the machine. The second was sealed in a paper sleeve marked "Return to Control Room." Beneath it lay a card bearing Henry Wallace's name, a telephone number, and one instruction: call before playback. Julian stared at the items. "Your father used analog devices when he believed the network was unsafe." Maya placed the sealed tape and Henry's card in her coat, then pressed play. Static filled the room, followed by Evelyn Sutton's voice. He sounded tired but unmistakably alive. He spoke about ordinary things first, as if leaving a message for someone who might not understand its importance. Navy Pier. The station clock. Maya's 8th birthday. Then his tone changed. "If Maya hears this, tell her I was afraid, but I was not confused. The program is real." It continued after they promised it was closed. "Evelyn knows. Thomas knows. Julian knows enough to stop it." Maya looked at Julian, but he did not move. The recording continued. "I asked Julian to meet me tonight. He said he would come alone. If he chooses the company, there will be no one left inside Crosswell who can tell the truth." The tape clicked, paused, then resumed with the sound of a door opening. Aaron's voice became quieter. "It is 112. Julian Cross is here." The recorder clicked off, leaving Evelyn Sutton's final words suspended in the cold basement air. Maya kept her hand on the device as if pressure alone could force the past to continue. Julian stood across from her among the forgotten boxes, his face stripped of the composure he had worn beneath Crosswell Tower. "You were there," she said. "Yes." "My father asked you to stop the program." "Yes." "And you did not." Julian looked at the dark window above the storage shelves. Rain moved across the glass in silver lines. "I was 26 years old. Evelyn had named me chief executive 3 days earlier. Aaron told me the company was collecting information from devices after customers had disabled them. He had proof that the data was being sold through outside contractors." "What did you tell him?" "I told him I needed time." Maya almost laughed, but no sound came. "Time for what?" "To understand how far it reached. To protect the employees who had nothing to do with it. To prevent the board from destroying the evidence before we could act." "That is what you told yourself." Julian met her eyes. "Yes." The answer carried no defense, which made her anger sharper. "What happened after 112? Your father gave me a copy of his files. He said the original was hidden somewhere no one at Crosswell could access. I promised to meet him again the following morning. But he never made it to morning." "No." "And the copy?" "Gone before I returned to my office." Maya released the recorder. "You expect me to believe someone stole it from the future chief executive? I expect you to believe that I underestimated the people around me. Evelyn. I never proved she ordered anything. You protected her anyway." Julian moved closer, stopping with several feet between them. "I protected the company. At least that was the language I used. Evelyn said disclosure would destroy contracts, pensions, and thousands of jobs. She said Aaron had become unstable, and that his accusations would collapse under review. Did you believe her? I wanted to. Maya understood then that Julian's greatest talent was not deception. It was building careful rooms around the truth and living inside them. You let them call my father confused. Yes. You let them turn his warning into evidence against him. Yes. And then you watched me for 3 years because you thought I might find what you were too afraid to search for. Julian lowered his gaze. Yes. Maya removed the sealed cassette and Henry Wallace's card from her coat. Then this call happens without your control. She used the annex landline and dialed the number. Man answered after the second ring. Maya, listen carefully, Henry Wallace said. His voice was the same one she had heard behind the glass. Are you safe? Are you? She asked. I am with federal investigators. I have been cooperating with them for 6 weeks. Julian stepped nearer to the receiver. How did you leave the control room? Aaron built a maintenance passage behind the glass wall. Evelyn brought me there tonight because she believed I knew where he hid the archive. She wanted Maya to see me, panic, and lead Julian to it. I changed the elevator call so Maya would arrive while I could still warn her. Then I used the passage before Thomas locked the level. The photograph and envelope? Maya asked. Thomas removed them from the storage unit holding your father's effects. The message on the envelope is genuine, but the placement was not. Evelyn needed you to interpret it. Maya looked at Julian. The night was no longer a chain of accidents. It was a trail laid by people who expected her grief to do their work. What is on the second tape? She asked. Access tones and Aaron's final safeguard. It can unlock an offline evidence vault, but only from the original control room under Crosswell Tower. It cannot transmit anything by itself. The investigators with me can receive the files only after you call this number again and enter the verification code written beneath the sleeve. Maya turned the sleeve over. 4 digits had been pressed into the paper. Why did my father trust you? He did not trust me completely. That is why he made the system require both his tape and an outside receiver. A light appeared on the annex security panel. Julian checked the display. Someone restored power remotely. Thomas knows the building has been opened, Henry said. He will contact you. Evelyn has called an emergency board meeting for 2:30 this morning. She intends to force Julian to sign a resolution giving her permanent control before the investigation becomes public. Maya looked at the clock. It was 1:58. Her mobile phone rang. Thomas Reed's name appeared even though she had never saved his private number. Henry spoke once more. Let him. Believe he is leading you. Federal agents will remain nearby, but they cannot enter the tower without confirmation that the archive exists. Keep this line available. Rachel Monroe has been cleared as the contact on Julian's security team. Maya covered the receiver. Julian nodded once. Rachel is the only person I did not inherit from Evelyn. Maya ended the call with Henry and answered Thomas. The chief legal officer sounded composed and concerned. He offered to take her to federal investigators at the courthouse before sunrise. Maya agreed to meet him outside the annex. After the call, Julian found an old telephone log inside Aaron's box. One line had been circled in Aaron's handwriting. At 12:55 in the morning, 17 minutes before Julian arrived, a call had come from Thomas Reed's private office. Beneath the number, Aaron had written 4 words. He knows where it is. Maya's phone lit up with a message from Thomas. Do not tell Julian I called. She showed it to Julian, then entered Henry's verification code into her phone without placing the call. The screen displayed a silent confirmation. Receiver ready. Thomas expects me alone, she said. Then he will see you alone, Julian replied. Rachel and I will remain 2 blocks behind. She will keep the federal receiver open through my tablet. No one enters until you start the second tape. Maya placed the recorder inside her coat. For the first time that night, the next move belonged to her. Maya deleted Thomas Reed's message without replying, but she kept the telephone log and the sealed tape. 10 minutes later, she stepped from the annex into the rain while Julian remained inside long enough to make her departure look genuine. A black sedan waited across the street. Thomas stood beside it beneath a wide umbrella, dressed as if he had walked out of a morning board meeting rather than into an empty block before dawn. "You made the right choice," he said. "That depends on what happens next." He opened the rear door. The courthouse entrance has changed because of a security concern. Maya did not enter. Federal buildings do not change entrances because one company lawyer makes a telephone call. Thomas gave her a tired smile. "Your father had the same habit." He turned every answer into another question. "Did you call him at 12:55? The smile disappeared. "Julian showed you the log. Answer me." Thomas looked past her toward the annex windows. "I called Aaron because I was trying to prevent a disaster." "Whose disaster?" "Everyone's." In the reflection on the sedan's wet door, Maya saw a second vehicle turn onto the street and remain nearly 2 blocks back. Rachel Monroe was driving. Julian sat beside her, exactly where the plan required. Thomas lowered his voice. "Get in, Maya. We do not have time to pretend we trust each other." She entered because refusing would end the only path back to the control room. Thomas sat beside her, separated by several feet of polished leather. The car traveled south for less than 5 minutes before turning into the underground garage beneath Crosswell Tower. "You said the courthouse," Maya said. "I said I would arrange protection. This is not protection. Protection is rarely the place people expect." The garage elevator accepted Thomas's badge and descended past the lowest public level. When the doors opened, Maya saw the same concrete corridor she had entered at midnight. The glass room was empty. Evelyn Shaw waited at the steel table, while the wall monitors displayed directors joining an emergency meeting from homes and hotel rooms across the country. The digital clock read 2:27. Evelyn's silver hair was perfectly arranged, and her hands rested calmly beside a thin folder. "Maya Sutton," she said. "You have your father's timing." Thomas remained near the door. Maya kept the recorder inside her coat, and her phone connected silently to Henry's receiver. "You sent the elevator," she said. "I made the hidden level available," Evelyn replied. Henry changed the final command, which was an irritating piece of independence. Still, he performed his purpose. "You used him to lead me. I used the only 2 people who could finish Aaron's puzzle. You knew his language. Julian had access to the annex. When his badge restored the old building's power, Thomas knew exactly where you were. The photograph and envelope were yours. They belonged to your father. Thomas merely placed them where you would understand that the past had entered your home." Evelyn opened the folder. Inside were copies of bank documents bearing Aaron Sutton's name. One showed an offer of $2 million from a Crosswell contractor. Another contained his signature. "Your father was not the unbroken hero you have spent 7 years defending," Evelyn said. "He considered accepting payment." Maya read the date. It was 3 days before his death. The transfer never happened. Evelyn's expression sharpened with something close to approval. "Good. You are looking at the evidence instead of the story around it." Maya turned the page. A handwritten note from Aaron appeared beneath the contract. "I thought silence could protect Maya. I was wrong. He changed his mind," Maya said. "Eventually," Evelyn replied. "Most people become principled after calculating the price." The elevator opened behind them. Julian entered alone. Rachel remained above with the federal contact, maintaining the outside receiver. Rain darkened the shoulders of Julian's coat, but his voice remained steady. "Let her leave." Evelyn did not turn. "You have said that sentence before, Julian. You did not mean it then." "I mean it now." "Then prove it." She slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was an emergency board resolution preserving Crosswell under Evelyn's control. "Sign this and Maya walks out. The inquiry ends. The company survives. 12,000 employees keep their jobs." On the monitors, the directors waited for the vote. Maya looked at Julian. "And if he refuses?" "I release selected files without context before regulators can secure the company. The stock collapses. Employee savings tied to Crosswell shares lose years of value. Contracts are canceled. Innocent people pay for a moral performance staged by 3 guilty families." Julian stared at the tablet. Maya saw the old calculation return to his face, the instinct to weigh truth against consequence until truth became too expensive. He reached for the stylus, then stopped. That hesitation lasted only seconds, but it answered the question Maya had carried since hearing her father's tape. Julian still believed responsibility meant choosing which lives could be damaged. Evelyn saw it too. He will always choose the tower, she said. Maya removed the cassette recorder from her coat. Thomas stepped forward. Give me that. You already heard the first tape, Maya said. This one was never meant for you. She inserted the sealed cassette and pressed play. A sequence of recorded tones moved through the room. The old control console beneath the monitors came alive, and a compartment opened behind its central panel, revealing a read-only storage unit Aaron had disconnected from Crosswell's network 7 years earlier. Maya's phone displayed a new message from Henry. Archive found. Receiver verified. Julian set the stylus down, placed his tablet beside the console, and connected the storage unit to the secure relay Rachel had activated from upstairs. The largest monitor divided into 3 windows. The board remained visible in the first. A live transcript from the room appeared in the second. The third displayed the seal of the United States Department of Justice, and the word secure evidence transfer in progress. Evelyn stood for the first time. Aaron's recorded voice continued. If this message is playing, the archive has returned to the room where the program began. No person in this room controls the only copy. Thomas moved toward the console, but Julian stepped between him and the panel without touching him. The board can hear us, Julian said. So can the investigators, Maya replied. The progress bar reached 100%. Aaron had not built a machine that magically delivered justice. He had built a vault that required the living to choose whether to open it, and Maya had made the choice. The secure transfer completed while silence moved through the underground room like a second signal. Evelyn Shaw looked at the monitors, then at Maya, as if deciding whether the truth could still be reduced to a technical error. You have no idea what you have released, she said. I know exactly what I released, Maya replied. The original records, the authorization chain, and a live account that no one in this building can quietly rewrite. A federal investigator spoke through Maya's phone, confirming that the archive had been received and instructing everyone on the level to remain where they were. Thomas Reed stepped away from the control panel. His confidence broke in small, visible pieces. The recording proves nothing by itself, he said. It does not need to, Julian answered. Aaron preserved the data Evelyn's inquiry claimed never existed. On the monitors, directors began speaking over one another. Some requested outside counsel. Others claimed they had never known the hidden program existed. Evelyn listened without surprise. They will abandon you before sunrise, she told Julian. They already have, he said. That is what you trained them to do. The unsigned emergency resolution still rested beneath his hand. For years, Julian had treated delay as strategy and control as responsibility. Now he pushed the document back across the table. I will provide every access code, archived authorization, and communication I kept after Aaron Sutton came to me, he said toward the camera. Evelyn's expression hardened. You kept copies? I told myself they were insurance. They were fear. Yes, Julian said. But fear preserved what courage did not. The federal agents working with Henry Wallace had been waiting nearby since Maya entered Thomas's car. They arrived at Crosswell shortly after Rachel confirmed the archive and provided access through the executive garage. There was no dramatic confrontation, only doors opening, credentials being shown, devices being collected, and careful instructions filling the concrete corridor. Maya watched Evelyn leave with investigators, still composed and refusing to look defeated. Thomas followed after surrendering his phone and security badge. Before entering the elevator, he glanced at Maya. Your father believed one confession could fix a system. No, Maya replied. He believed a system could be forced to remember. Henry remained in federal protection that morning. In the weeks that followed, his testimony established how Evelyn had brought him to the hidden level as bait and how Thomas had planted Aaron's photograph and envelope inside Maya's apartment. The older man who had vanished behind the glass was no longer an unanswered shadow. He became the first living witness to confirm Aaron's account. By dawn, Crosswell Tower was surrounded by news crews. Employees gathered outside, confused and frightened, while senior managers issued statements that contradicted one another. Julian stood with Maya near the lobby windows. "You should leave before the cameras see you," he said. "Are you protecting me again? I am trying to give you a choice." Maya studied him. "Then tell the truth before someone tells it for you." Later that morning, after speaking with outside counsel and federal investigators, Julian entered the press room. He admitted that Evelyn Sutton had warned him about the program 7 years earlier. He did not describe himself as a victim of Evelyn, and he did not claim ignorance. He said he had delayed, concealed records, and allowed the company to discredit a man who had tried to expose wrongdoing. Then he resigned as chief executive. Crosswell did not collapse in a single day. Companies rarely failed with the clarity of falling buildings. Its government contracts were suspended. Several divisions were placed under independent management and later sold. The company's pension plan was placed under court-appointed oversight, although employees whose savings were tied heavily to Crosswell stock still suffered losses. Thousands kept their jobs, but survival did not mean escaping consequence. Evelyn Shaw and Thomas Reed face federal charges connected to unlawful data collection, obstruction, and falsified records. Julian became a cooperating witness and accepted that cooperation did not erase complicity. Maya released Aaron's full archive, including the contract he had almost signed. Reporters asked why she would reveal evidence that damaged her father's reputation. "Because he was not brave every minute," she said. "He was afraid he considered the wrong choice and then he tried to correct it. The truth does not honor him by making him perfect." In the months that followed, Maya left corporate compliance and joined a non-profit organization that protected whistleblowers and their families. She helped people prepare for the loneliness that came before public courage, when they doubted their memories and feared what honesty might cost. She kept Aaron's cassette recorder on her desk, not as proof that he had been flawless, but as a reminder that a person could change direction before the final door closed. 1 year later, on a cold October evening, Maya entered the modest office building where her organization had moved. The elevator was older than the one at Crosswell, with scratched brass buttons and a light that flickered above the 6th floor. Julian stood inside carrying a cardboard file box. He looked different without the tailored armor of his former position. Less protected, perhaps, but also less distant. "I was asked to deliver the last set of records," he said. "I can leave them downstairs." Maya stepped into the car. "You can come up." The doors closed. Julian moved automatically toward the control panel, then stopped and stepped aside. Maya noticed the gesture. It was small, but unlike every promise he had once made, it required no explanation. She pressed the button for the 7th floor. "Are you certain?" he asked. "About the floor? About letting me come with you?" Maya watched their reflections in the worn metal doors. A year earlier, she had entered an elevator believing one wrong choice had carried her into someone else's secret. Now she understood that the machine had only revealed what waited beneath every polished surface: fear, ambition, loyalty, and the price of silence. "No," she said as the elevator began to rise. "I am not certain." Julian nodded. He did not reach for the controls. "Then why did you press the button?" The floor numbers changed above them one at a time. Maya looked forward as the doors prepared to open. "Because uncertainty is different when the choice is mine."